When you hear the name Frontline Force, you may or may not unlock an old memory. For me personally, I grew up during the Counter-Strike craze of the early 2000s, but there are hundreds and thousands of players who played Frontline Force. Adam Finol made the mod all the way back in 2000 and updated it over the years. Adam later went to work for Valve, by the way, which is super awesome. Basically, in this multiplayer mode for Half-Life 1, there are two teams, attackers and defenders. The attackers would have to capture points in the maps, like a game of domination in Call of Duty, and defenders would obviously have to stop these points from getting captured. I find it super interesting that before the domination game mode in COD 4 or before the conquest game mode in Battlefield 1941, there was a goal source mod that did it first. It isn't quite Counter-Strike and it isn't quite Day of Defeat, but it's like a mixture of many. Aesthetically, it did resemble its contemporaries like CS and TFC, and gameplay-wise, it did have a stamina system and very tactical movement like DOD, but it stood on its own as a unique experience. As you can expect, over the years, Frontline Force lost its glory and fame, and it now remains an empty shell of what it once was. There are no players, no servers. All I could do was just roam around and check some of the maps out. But during its heyday, a sequel was announced and showcased. This sequel would run on the then new Source engine and utilize its visual and physics fidelity to bring the concept of FLF to a newer age. But then, nothing. But of course, there is a reason I'm making this video. October 21st, 2024. A user by the name of HL Mods creates a new mod page, Frontline Force Classic. There's some intro text, some screenshots, and finally, a build of the source mod from June 2005. This was Half-Life Lost Media, now found. Of course, I straight away downloaded it, copied it to my source mods folder and ran it. And then I realized as soon as I saw the error, this is gonna need a fix and a patch to run on the modern source engine. And so, I had to stop and give up. I did see this newly posted video on YouTube, link in the description by the way, and it showed the mod running clear as day. But there's no instructions, no hints, no method to run this madness. And well, that was that. A roadblock. Surely there's no way that a rough alpha build of a source mod from 2005 would run now, would it? Well, I don't stop that easily. I'm no miracle worker, I'm not a technical source modder, but I got the thing running. Here it is, Frontline Force Classic. And it made me so happy that I could finally experience this lost media that a whole fan base thought was gone. It has 5 maps and 1 test map. The test map didn't work, but the others do run. So first I loaded into beers and noticed 80% of my screen was filled with missing textures and models. Once again, I headed back to the drawing board. To get the mod running, I used a Half-Life 2 Day 1 build. To get the missing textures and models back, I realized I needed Counter-Strike Source. And as one of my friends puts it, we can't escape CSS. Copying the raw files of a Day 1 CSS build into the mods folder, and voila, most of the missing textures and models were now visible. And now finally, here's the RadHaz exclusive map showcase of Frontline Force Classic, the cancelled source mod from 2005. Beers. This map takes place in a city block with quite a few interior areas. It has small rooms and halls and close quarter streets. From what I can tell, places like the bar, the warehouse, the hotel, all of these were supposed to be capture points. But just looking at this gave me such a nostalgic feeling. You know, like source maps from that era had this feeling. Mappers hadn't fully grasped the potential of the engine, so a lot of the early custom maps had this goal source but modern feel to them. This was a beautiful thing to look at. And I hate to sound like a stereotype, but I'm gonna say it anyways. This reminded me of the Half-Life 2 beta as well. Dark and gritty. I did try to spawn in weapons like how it was in that video, but I just couldn't. Like just the vanilla HL2 weapons spawn, but they don't work properly. Next map is East End, which is basically a port of the map found in the original mod. Like literally, I think they just straight up ported the map into Source and may have planned to update all of it with new textures and models. Cause in its current state, it felt broken but in a strange way, like the lighting was off, the skybox was in the old format, some 3D models just didn't receive any lighting at all, and stuff like that. Next is Heatwave. This map is an OG map from the original mod, but this here is a remake. New high resolution textures, a brand new 3D skybox, and high quality models as well. This reminds me a lot of Inferno and Cobble from Counter-Strike with a tinge of dust as well. Good stuff. Next map is Lombardy. Again, this was in the original mod as well, but here it gets the Source remake treatment as well. And I gotta say, out of the 5 maps in this alpha build, this looked the most complete and error-free. I mean, it still has missing stuff, but it looks more polished and done. This gave me heavy Italy vibes from its textures and map layout, and if I'm not wrong, this map is named after Doug Lombardi, the Valve employee? I don't know, that might be a stretch. And lastly, we have Village. Similar to East End, this is once again a straight up port of a map found in the original mod as well. I do love snow maps in games, and this was definitely a mood for me. I can only imagine how good the updated and remade version of this map would have looked like. And also, there was a scout car here as well. And that's all that I could find in my first dive into this alpha build of the mod. If someone out there can do a proper look at this, someone technical, I would love to see what else is in here. Maybe the weapons can be activated, or player models or anything like that can be seen. Hell, porting these over to Gmod would be awesome too. But anyway, this is where I'm gonna stop. I hope this was interesting to look at. It was certainly for me, and maybe for old school Frontline Force fans as well, if there are any alive anymore. Thanks for watching, and a big thanks to these benefactors for supporting the channel. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.